It's 2021. I thought the glorification of Europe's colonial past is already so obsolete. I mean, by now we should already have known that colonialism is exploitative, indicative of ominously shaking moral compasses, and inhumane. But few people didn't think so, or that the thing is not too serious. That's why we have the case of the Humboldt Forum to discuss today. The Humboldt Forum, in the very heart of Berlin Mitte, is a reconstruction of the Schloss, formerly known as the Palace of the Republic during the GDR, housing an extensive non-European collection from the Ethnological Museum of Berlin and the Museum of Asian Art. In recent years, there has been a great deal of controversy and criticism around the non-European object displayed in the European museum context regarding their acquisition under colonialism. Case in point, the British Museum. Now, it's not surprising that the Humboldt Forum is under public scrutiny as well, regarding its treatment of Germany's colonial past and the dubious origin of the majority of the ethnological collection. The building struck me as if it's making an on-tap statement on Facebook about the glorious power and pride of Germany, not least because of its extravagant exterior facade reconstructed with the funding from private donor of 18 million. Meticulously decorated walls and columns, gilded sculpture, magnificent glass ceiling architecture, such a reflection of Deutschland power. The choice of location for the Humboldt Forum is a symbolic one. According to Friedrich von Boos, the public advertising statement, which largely focused on the non-European collection, revealed a critical problem. All continents are represented in the Humboldt Forum except for Europe. This denotes a stereotype of the fundamental division between Europe and its various quote-unquote others, which has been an essential rationale in the history of ethnology. Therefore, despite the assertion that the Humboldt Forum, with its non-European historical collection, is aimed at completing the Museum Island as the world-famous place for the art of European civilization, the basic dividing line between the two is nevertheless being withdrawn. The Humboldt Forum, to put it frankly, is perpetuating that colonialist mentality, already being labeled as the World Cultural Site, Deutschland Pride, but I think the forum still needs a sticky note with colonial institution written on it. But what's even more disturbing is a large part of the ethnological collection, which even before moving to the Humboldt Forum, have long been the subject of heated debate because of the acquisition under colonialism. According to Friedrich von Boos, after the beginning of Germany's colonial rule in the African continent, the colonial infrastructure served as the very basic for obtaining a large part of the present-day African collection. Furthermore, the 508 Benin bronze were bought 3 months after the British had invaded Benin in 1897 and looted some 3,000 artifacts, knowing very well that they were looted items. The display of these looted objects in the context that is not of their true origin will only remind of the colonialist genocide and bloodshed in which they were stolen. It's only the European Museum rhetoric that is here in Berlin, or London, or Paris, that the world can understand various culture. Because though metropolitan are the center of the universe, aren't they? It's always this excuse to keep those looted objects here in the countries of dominant power, isn't it? I wholeheartedly agree with the No Humboldt 21 that the transportation of those looted artifacts from Dahlem to the center of Berlin will not change its illegality. The relocation of the collection to the center of Berlin, being associated with the concept Universal Museum, cannot change the fact that it is still a violation of human rights to other cultural heritage. And that makes total sense. I mean, if someone in London or Berlin steal my property and keep them at their house, would that make them less of a thief? With all that being said, I'm disappointed at the Humboldt Forum. But perhaps there's more to my disappointment. There is my favorite German compound word that I learned from my friend Anna-Sophie, Enttäuschung. Enttäuschung means disappointment. This word is a combination of end, meaning end, and Täuschung, meaning ill deception. So Enttäuschung can literally translate it as an end to a deception. Perhaps my disappointment at the Humboldt Forum can also spark a sense of optimism, for we are liberated from an illusion that still haunts us from the very ugly past, an illusion that we can somehow rewrite the concept of universal museum to justify the illegal status of non-European objects acquired under colonialism. The Humboldt Forum is nothing more than an occasion for us to start questioning unapologetically the history that has been taught to us, to question those colonial institutions, to advocate for the restitution of looted cultural property even stronger. The forum described itself as the place to exchange the dialogue on colonialism in the 21st century. But for me, a more urgent question for the forum would be, now what are you going to do when these discussions come to an end? Will you still operate the institution despite those critical questions? Or will you attack action to come to terms with Germany's colonial past?